it's just about time to go live. So we're going live. I've got a Mac to one side and we are live. So hello and welcome to a live version of David Talking Tech. If you read any of the posts that I put up in all sorts of places, I did a YouTube post, I posted it on Instagram, I made a short on, sorry, I did a YouTube short, a story on Instagram, put it on Twitter. I've kind of just tried to go everywhere to let you know that I was doing this live stream. And the idea of it is that if you want to join in, then have a chat. We can talk about the channel. We can talk about the products I've reviewed and discussed on the channel recently. I was going to look back over the year, and really, I'll be here for as long as you want me to be here. If people join in and we have a good discussion, then I've got as long as you want, to be honest with you. I've got a bottle of water and I'm good for this session. But if nobody joins in, I'll have a quick run through of things that I've done and then I'll totter off on my way. So first of all, if we just look at, I did just want to warn you that if you hear any sirens during this, I'm clearly, as you can see, in my studio. So I've got this studio space that I record all of my videos at now and do most of the editing here as well. And I've got a home podcast studio as well. Well, the home podcast studio is more of a radio studio, but I'll come back to that in a bit. So I spend all of my time here. This is where I shoot, but it's right by a big hospital, big A&E hospital. And you do get sirens pounding past. So if suddenly you get a siren pounding past, apologies, there's not a lot I can do about it. The windows here are quite thin. I've sort of got some sound treatment on it, but if it happens, you'll know very much that it's live. When I'm recording videos, of course, that generally means that I have to kind of cut into the recording or remember where it was and retake. It's things you get used to when you're shooting a video. It's quite an interesting behind the curtains. I have thought about making a video of sort of what goes on behind the scenes. I did it once very early on, but I think now it might be more interesting just because, of course, what you see in front of the camera looks all perfect. This side of the camera, it's tidy-ish, but I've kind of pushed myself into a corner so you get a lovely depth of field behind me. And then there's things everywhere. There's sound curtains everywhere. And Ross is in. Hello, Ross. Hey. I will try to message back as well, but obviously I don't want to spend too long looking at the Mac. But Ross has joined in and is the first to get a conversation going. So good on you, Ross. Glad to have you on board. Yeah, so I might at some point during the year, but those sort of videos, I kind of think are the ones that you make for yourself, not necessarily for the viewers. It's kind of interesting. Although when I did the M3 iMac video recently, in YouTube Analytics, you get to see where the spikes are and where people are picking up and watching. And one of the areas that they were most interested in was I started showing very quickly just how I put images into Lightroom and how I make thumbnails in Photoshop and some of the work that I do in Premiere Pro when I'm editing. Yes, I'm still a Premiere Pro user. There's got to be some of us left. And people seem to be really interested in that. The channel started off years ago. The channel actually started in September 2021. And back then it was very much an audio based and audio review. I was doing a lot of headphone reviews. I was doing a lot of tutorials on Adobe Audition. I'm a big user. Michael Grant, hello. Always here now. Vision Pro. Yes, Vision Pro. It's on the list to talk about Vision Pro. And just to prove it's on the list, I've got my 3D render that I had made back in March time, I think it was. No, later than that would have been, wouldn't it? It would have been more like May, I guess. So yes, that is on the list. I've got a whole list of things to get through to. So Michael Grant and Ross, great to have you both tuned in. And then the channel kind of pivoted away from doing reviews and tutorials over to one of my big loves, which is tech and Apple gear. And that's kind of where it's begun going to. And we'll talk about the growth that the channel's begun seeing recently. And it would be great to have your feedback. So if more of you want to get involved and let me know your thoughts on how things are looking on the channel, and if there's anything you particularly like me to get involved with, then that's the whole idea of today, this AMA, Ask Me Anything. And you can ask me anything. I will try to do my very best to answer. And if you really are enjoying it and you want to leave me a super thanks or anything like that, that obviously helps with the channel. I know you're fed up probably of people sitting in front of the camera saying that, but I've now learned that it's actually really important because these channels aren't cheap to run, certainly in the tech space where you're constantly buying things. So first of all, I've kind of taken a week off. The way that I don't want to sound too pretentious, but the whole idea of content creation, it's kind of two-pronged for me. Videos here is obviously part of it, and then writing. I used to write 5 days a week. I now write 3 days a week. I'm going for quality over quantity now, and those are the two prongs that kind of make up my whole content creation package. And that's pretty much what takes most of my week. And the reason for only doing one video a week is I feel that I couldn't do more than one video and give it my best. I think I'd be cutting corners otherwise. And to give you kind of an idea of how a week would generally go, Sunday, now a lot of people, I've been to other creators as well, and they have that physical wall charts. They have whiteboards up with a whole plan. It's never been my thing. I guess I've always been used to running my own businesses in one way or another. And I've kind of just got used to planning on the fly. I've got a gut feeling of what needs doing. I've got a gut feeling of what events will come. You know, we all know that it's going to be WWDC in June. We know you're going to have the iPhone event in September. I'm now getting used to when the Samsung events are too. Whether I follow down the Android route or not, I don't know yet. But you kind of know roughly when things are coming out. So I don't have a whiteboard. I plan week to week. So generally I post a video on a Friday at 5:30, and after that, that's kind of that baby's done and it's archived. And then I begin thinking about the next week. And I've normally got an idea. Then on Sunday, I'll try not to do too much on Sunday, but I might vaguely storyboard it, write down points, and have some sort of feeling of what I want to talk about on the video. Then Monday it gets serious. Monday I normally sit and write a blog for the week, or first blog of the week. That's done. And then I'll also write the script for the video. Now, I don't read a script when I'm recording, but because I've written out long form, I kind of know what points I want to bring up, and it's important to tell that story. So it saves me rambling, which is clearly what I'm doing today. But just to give you an idea of how the week goes. So generally, Monday is recording A-roll, and it always starts with the thumbnail. That's a must for me. So I'll come in, I'll take a load of shots for the thumbnail, and I'll generally now edit the thumbnail and put the thumbnail together with the wording on the thumbnail and the title for the video. Once that's done, I'll shoot the A-roll and B-roll. And then Tuesday and Wednesday is normally spent editing, and it's normally ready by generally on a Thursday, and I schedule it for Friday. So that's kind of the video side of the week, and then writing 3 times a week, as I say. And that's just normally there's topics either that are very topical of the moment or something I particularly want to talk about. So that's kind of the way the week goes. But yes, so taking a week off basically since the last proper working day I had was a week ago today, Friday of last week. And then I decided to back out for the week. I was thinking of making another video, and I have got some videos planned in my mind. But then I thought this was just a nicer way to round the year out. I just thought it would give us all a chance to get together, have a chat, and hopefully if people get involved, we can, you know, go off on tangents and find out what it is you want to talk to me about, or, you know, we just bounce ideas around. So as I said, this is very much a how long's a piece of string. I'll be here for as long or short a time as is dictated by the chat and by you guys. But I just want to say thank you, because we've had a real big splurge of growth in the last month, 2 months. September 21 is when I started uploading. It took me till March of this year to get to my first 1,000 subs. So well over a year. And then we went from 1,000 to 2,000 between March and September, and 2,000 to 3,000 between September and December, and we're already at 3.5 now. So my goal was to try and get to 5,000 subs by the end of the year. Unless some miracle happens, I don't think that's going to happen. But we are picking up lots of subs. And I say we because it is kind of very much a collab. I just happen to be the one that sits down and yakkers in front of the camera, but it's you guys that are kind enough to watch many weeks, week after week, and then get in touch. And as you know, a big thing for me is making sure that I respond to every message. And it's interesting, you know, people make out that it's really hard work. It does normally, on a busy day, it will take me an hour to respond to all of the messages, but it's so worth it, because you've heard this term community with YouTube. It's really true. If you invest back in, and you know that I'm going to read your comments and respond to your comments. And luckily, I've had very few bad comments, troll comments, nasty comments, useless comments. They've all been pretty, I mean, we might not always agree, but we always have a good conversation about it. And that is all I can ask for. So, you know, that's been a really good side of this particular channel. I don't know if I'm particularly lucky in that, or whether it's you get back what you put in. I don't know. But we've got a really good group of people here that watch the videos and enjoy the content. So I've got my notes here looking back at mistakes. I think mistakes I clearly made were taking a long time to find out my style. Now, if this is boring, by the way, do let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about. I have got some things to talk about and what we're looking forward to, but I just thought a little bit of back history, because I don't get a chance to talk to you like this. So it's just, yeah, a kind of an easy Friday afternoon, wherever you are in the world, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever. But yeah, so mistakes I've made have been taking too long to work out my style. And I think I finally settled into a pattern of that now. And I was definitely over editing to start with. I found editing enjoyable. It's a lot of hard work, but I actually enjoyed the process of editing. But I found that the people that are watching my videos don't particularly like that style of editing, which is absolutely fine. So I've tailored that in the last 6 weeks, I'd say, back. And I've been very cautious of what I'm doing each week. There's something slightly different to see where I need to sit, and I've kind of got a pattern now, and it's basically down to just good delivery. I've improved the audio and the way I process the audio. And if you want me to talk about processing, is that reflective of the year? No, I'm enjoying it. Good stuff. Thank you, Michael. It's Michael saying he's enjoying what we're talking about. Great stuff. Yeah, well, this is the idea. I just wanted to have a chat with you rather than just making a video. Reflective of the time of year, yes, I think taking time off was reflective, but it's also helped me to recharge the batteries and just come back a little bit fresh. I didn't want to appear as if I was lazy, but equally, I think you can bang a drum a bit too much. And it's ridiculous to admit, but it does actually kind of get you tired after a time. It's sleeping is the biggest issue for me since I've been doing this. And the more, I don't want to say success, but the more views I get and the more the channel grows, the more I'm thinking about what I need to do next and where I can improve next. And it's ideas all the time. And my sleep now is absolutely diabolical. I'll often be on the phone 4 or 5 o'clock. Recently, I've had an excuse because I also like a bit of cricket, and Australia playing Pakistan, and I'm listening to it live during the night. So, and the Australian Open tennis starts soon as well. So my sleep's going to be screwed for the next month or so, I reckon. But this thing, it's a real bug, and it's also really personal. When a video does badly, it really hurts. Early on, a lot more so. I used to take it really personally and get quite down about it because, of course, it's you're kind of being judged on you and either what you look like, how you sound, what you're saying, your way of putting things across. So it is really personal. It does kick hard when you don't get the success that you particularly not feel you deserve, because nobody deserves success. You have to work for it. That's fine. But when you put your lifeblood into it for the week and it's just nobody watches it. I've got so used to it for so long. And so at the moment where I'm getting regular good views, and for me, good views is maybe 3,500 in a week. A couple of videos recently have done over 10 in a month. And that's good for me, and good subs with it as well. Picking up a load of subs. But I say that tailors back to the mistakes I was making. I was using music beds. I was over editing, the crazy graphics popping up left, right, and center. And I realized the people that are watching me actually just want measured delivery. So I looked at some of the creators I like the best, and also I've stopped watching other creators that I found weren't ticking boxes for me. And that's all helped. I don't think I copy anybody, but I certainly look at the best and think, okay, what can I pull from them? So that's what I've tried to tailor the channel down to. And it seems to be working. Like you'll notice I did a lot of speech to text, and I'm even throttling that back now because I don't think it's needed as long as I'm telling a good story and delivering the right points. And that's why I write the script at the beginning of the week. I did use a teleprompter for a time, actually. And that's when I was working with Marcus when we were doing the renders of what turned out to be Apple Vision Pro, because he was giving me so much technical information that there was no way I could remember it when I was reading. So I did buy a teleprompter. I got used to using it, and it was pretty good. It saved some time, but equally, I feel it just took away from the natural flow of a conversation and the style of the videos I make now. I try to be more conversational. I try to be easier going. And I think that's what's come across as well. So you can tell it's not scripted. I generally have a Mac set to one side of me. I use Ulysses if you're interested. It's what I write my blogs in, so it's a really good writing program. All I do, I just read through the next few paragraphs and then carry on. So if I'm lucky, some weeks I do it without any cuts at all. Other times I'll have to make a few cuts in the edit, but I try to do very few now. And also, I've taken out jump cuts. I didn't think it was right for the kind of content I was making, so I've tried to really simplify, if you like, how the videos look, but hopefully for the better. So those are the mistakes that I've learned. Now, also, I do a podcast. That started off as being a podcast that I did just by myself, minus 16. When I started this brand thing, content creation, videos and writing, podcast was something I've always loved, and I got very used to podcasting with radio. So before this, I did about 10 years of live radio. And in fact, speaking of which, I'm back on the radio this Sunday, solarradio.com, or you can listen to it on TuneIn Radio. But look for Solar Radio. I'm on 4 through until 6. You need to like Rare Soul, and jazz funk. Just warning. If you like rare soul and jazz funk, it could be a good show for you. But I'm back on the radio. And so because of radio, I got a lot of experience with podcasting. When I started this, I thought, okay, go back into podcasting. And it's strange, I really love podcasting because, again, it's conversation. And I love doing what we're doing now. And if I could do this weekly, I happily would. If there was I did try it during the summer. I did about 9 or 10 weeks. Ended up doing that with iCave Dave as well. And I love this longer form discussion because, in my view, some of the podcasts that I watch now, Colin Samir, Diary of a CEO, that kind of thing, they've replaced chat shows from the 70s and 80s. And it's just watching people sit down and have that conversation. And this I love. And if I could find a way to monetize this and to do this on a weekly basis, I happily would, because this is the kind of content I like the best. And it's, as you start discussing and talking, you begin to, you will branch off into areas and subjects, and maybe, certainly when I'm doing a podcast with Alex, we'll bounce ideas off of one another, and that's what instigates a great conversation. And it's a shame that the podcast isn't doing as well as it should do. The content in the podcast, I think, is really top notch, what we cover. And if you haven't checked out Minus 16, it is available on YouTube, and it's available Apple Podcasts and Spotify and so on. But it's basically the first, say, half an hour is covering tech news of the last 2 weeks, because we do it fortnightly, and then we go into the business of YouTube and little tips and tricks we found, and what we're finding makes the channel work and grow. But so the content I really like, and if we had more time, I think that podcast channel could grow. But of course, trying to run channels is a pretty full-time business. So this I absolutely adore, though. And then, so it's something I've got in mind to do more of during the year if it gets the views and if it gets the responses. Obviously, the mainstay of the channel's got to be reviews and main videos, and I'll probably be back next week, I think, with an M3 iMac video. As you know, I made a couple on that recently. Love that machine. It's sitting, you can see it actually to the one side of me, over on the desk behind me, and love that machine. It's, the base model of it is, it's still really, really consummate. It's a great machine to use, and I just love using iMacs. So I've got some other content planned that I think I'm going to make on that for next week's video, the first video of 2024. So looking back over this past 12 months, there was kind of early on in January, Apple gave us a product release we didn't expect. Of course, we got the Mac Minis and also the HomePod. Now, I never had the HomePod, the full-blown HomePod, when it was first launched. I've since had 2 minis, one of which has stopped working and blown up. But I've had 2 HomePod minis, and then last January, when they launched the HomePod, I decided, right, I was going to get into it, buy it, write about it, make videos about it, which I did. But most importantly, I use it, and I love it. Ross, do you have a standout highlight from 2023? Standout highlight? Probably. That's a good question to ask. If you're meaning here on the channel and content that I've made, I think probably the studio display. Purely because it's something that it is an expensive display. There's no getting away from it. Thank you for asking, Ross. But it's a product I really do believe in. I'll get back to the HomePod in a minute. I don't want to lose track, but Ross was kind enough to ask a question. So the studio display, because it's kind of not in everybody's budget, and I don't, I'm very, very lucky and fortunate to have it, but I do hammer it. I do sit in front of it 8 to 10 hours a day. And my last video, I made the point of saying, think of it not as expensive, but as value. And that is kind of how I look at it. Yes, it's £1,500 up front, but the amount of hours I use it over the amount of years that I'll use it, it's hands down the best device. And I really enjoyed making that content about it, because not a lot of people have made content about it recently. So when it came out, obviously there's all the normal videos came out and the hoopla that you couldn't pull the power cord out the back. But since then, it's become a workhorse, and I just think it deserves to be spoken about. So definitely here on the channel, Ross, I think that was one of the highlights, actually realizing I could make videos about things that other people weren't making videos about. And the other highlight has just been finding my own voice, because you're always told there's always space on YouTube. And I'm now beginning to find it is. Early on, I was guilty. I had never used, for reference, in 21 when I started this, I'd never used a camera and I'd never used Premiere Pro. So this was a completely new odyssey for me. And I thought, coming from radio, it'd be easy. Trust me, radio actually didn't help me hardly at all, apart from knowing how to speak into a mic. But this whole thing has been totally new to me, and I've loved it. That's kind of when I'm at my best, when I'm put into a corner and I have to learn, and you have to get a video out. And I started shooting on a regular iPhone 12, not even a Pro, just a regular 12, which is why the video was so poor back then. But it's interesting, yesterday I still had a comment from one of my very early biodynamic headphone videos. So they're still getting views, even though I look at them now and cringe. They are still getting views, but I will never take anything down because you clearly have to learn and you have to sort of hone your craft. So I think the other thing then highlight for me, Ross, would be also the growth I've seen recently, because it's been so rewarding, not from a point of view of vanity, just because I know the amount of work that I put into it. And also recently, it hasn't happened by chance. I kind of knew the changes I was making week on week. And it's all well and good when people say, look at analytics. Trust me, when you haven't got many people watching, it's very hard to look at your analytics and for them to have any kind of bearing. So now I'm getting more views. And to give you an insight, for instance, it was very interesting when I make the studio display videos or the iMac videos, all of my viewers are male, 99 point something percent. So they're all male. And the age group varies greatly between when I make an iPhone video, which I did recently, or the studio display iMac. Studio display iMac, it's kind of 45, 65. The iPhone was a good 10 years younger, 35, 45. Equally, the iPhone was split between viewers virtually equally in the States and India. But when I did the Mac and the studio display, it's all in the States. You begin to get a picture of where you're trying to cater for. And all of that really does help. And you can get so buried into the analytics. And they are there to help. I've learned they are definitely there to help. So back to the HomePod, I was going to try and go through the things that I bought. So the HomePod was the first thing that I bought. That setup was absolutely painful. It was horrible. I unboxed it on a Saturday night, I remember. I thought it was going to take me minutes, and it should have taken minutes. For some reason, it turned into an abomination. I was on the phone with Apple support. Let's face it, no bloke enjoys calling Apple support or any support. You just put things in, and it's easy, right? How easy is it to set up a HomePod? For whatever reason, and I've got an Apple 4K TV, which I love, and I paired it up with that as a home cinema, and it just did not want to know. We had all sorts of problems. Ended up the day still not working. I woke up on the Monday, and it just was suddenly working. You tell me. So anyway, that was the first product I bought this year. I think I'm going to try and buy a second HomePod at some point soon to get the stereo pair as well, because I love the sound that gives out with Apple 4K TV. And if I can get the second, I've got a decent kind of shelf and I get some nice separation. So that's one of the plans. That was the first thing I bought this year. Then I got asked on to Mac Rumors podcast. Hartley and I, Hartley's a brilliant. I love Hartley and Dan. Dan's got a wicked sense of humour. I don't chat to Dan as much, but Hartley and I have become reasonably good friends, and we message one another occasionally. And I asked him to come on the podcast, and I was doing it alone, and he was gracious enough to come on, and that sort of established a means of a means of conversation between us. And then Hartley and Dan asked me to go on the Mac Rumors podcast as an audio guest, because I've done that in the past, of course, with the biodynamic headphones and Adobe Audition. So that prompted me to buy the AirPods Max, because I didn't have AirPods Max at the time, and I thought I needed to try and talk about all of the different audio products that Apple had. So I've had standard AirPods, and then I had two pairs of AirPods Pro as well. I bought the first pair in, I think it was the March or April, knowing pretty much that later that year, and that would have been last year, I think, that the new version was going to come out. But I just wanted noise cancellation so much. At that point, I was walking an awful lot near roads and so on, and any podcasts I was listening to, I was losing all the conversation, and it was horrible. So I wanted to get some with noise cancelling, and they are brilliant. In fact, I've got certainly a story I'm going to write about AirPods. I don't think it warrants a video, but I've got a really good story in mind to write about AirPods and some of the things that I really like about them. I love Hartley. Yes, Michael. He is a lovely fella. He really is. We've spoken about maybe trying to meet up in London at some point. Apple Battersea. We both love Apple Battersea, both been there, but never met one another there. So we've never met in person. It's always been on video. He did one podcast with me this year when Alex couldn't make it. And I love Hartley. He's got so much knowledge as well. You fire anything at him and he just knows the answer when it comes to Apple. So I bought the AirPods Max because I went onto the Mac Rumors podcast and had a really nice chat with him. And so that was the second product I bought. So I don't think I've missed anything out. Then it was iPhone time, and I bought the iPhone Pro Max, which I've got there. So it's the full, I wanted to get all the beans on it. So I've got the Pro Max with 512 gigs of storage on, and it's been a beast. I've made a couple of, I've shot videos on it recently. I was thinking of using it on this stream today, actually. I was going to use the continuity camera, but in the end, I decided that I'd shoot on the Canon, but that has been fantastic. I've made a couple of videos recently. I think the last 3 main videos I've shot entirely on the iPhone 15 Pro Max in Apple ProRes and Log. And I've finally found kind of how to edit, because I told you, I know nothing about photography. I knew nothing about um, how to edit. And so suddenly when this ProRes and Log came along, it was all new to me again, because the Canon, for instance, doesn't shoot in Log, so I don't have any color correction to do. In fact, when the color comes straight out of the Canon, it is really, really good natively. And all the videos that people have made about ProRes and Log assume you've got some sort of base knowledge of how to edit. Well, if you haven't, you're kind of stuff. So I've made a video where I've gone through all the little bits and pieces I've learned along the way, just trying to explain how I use it and how I edit with it. And it's great. It's a really, really good tool. I'm loving using that phone, and I think it's one of their potential classics. So after buying the iPhone 15 Pro Max in the fall, then I bought the M3 iMac at the end of the year. Always been an iMac user. My first Mac was actually a MacBook Air. You can probably just see it behind me somewhere. No, you can't quite. It was behind me on the shelf. You'll often see it on videos. That was my first ever Mac in about 2010, I think, MacBook Air. And then I went on to 21.5-inch iMac, and then it's been iMac pretty much all the way until last year when I switched to the MacBook Pro that does the majority of my work, and that's a fairly tripped out 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro. So those are the products I bought this year, and I guess I'd be hard pushed to say, but the AirPods Max are definitely the one product used least of all. Not because they're not great; they sound fantastic. It's just I don't tend to reach them that often. If I'm out, I tend to use AirPods Pro, and if I'm at home, sometimes AirPods Pro are just easy to use on the sofa as well. So the AirPods Max sit in the studio at home, often not being used that much. HomePod, absolutely adore. iPhone 15 Pro Max, fantastic, and the iMac, even though it's a little baby entry-level iMac, I still love it. So those are the products I bought this year. Then the other big sort of pivot for the channel this year was in January of last year, I thought I'd try and find a renders artist to, while things were quiet, to maybe draw some renders of the 15 Pro Max and also the Mac Pro that was rumored to be coming out this year, which of course it did in the end. And in the throes of looking for a renders artist, I came across Marcus Kane. I found him on Behance, and I got in touch with him, and we struck up a really good relationship. And then Marcus and I spent months talking about Apple Vision Pro. He has so much knowledge when it comes to AR, VR. Listening to him and talking to him was an absolute joy. It was a real privilege. And we worked really, really well together. On the day that the event was, when the Vision Pro was launched, we did a live stream then. And I think just after that also, I was on a podcast with Hartley. I think Mac Wimmers were doing, not a podcast, we're doing a live chat on Twitter. So it was a busy night, but Marcus and I got on like a house on fire. And that's where we got, that was his original renders before we actually ever saw Apple Vision Pro. And he wasn't actually too far from the tree, to be honest with you. I don't think I'll be getting, I mean, they're not available in the UK yet. I know we're talking about them. The first siren, I did warn you. As somebody's having a worse Friday than me, then I'm actually having a really good Friday because I'm loving doing this. Sorry if the siren's making much noise. I don't know if Apple Vision Pro is coming to the UK early on. We're now believing that shipments are being made, and I think it was Michael was talking about it. Yeah, Michael was talking about Vision Pro. Sounds like January, February, they're going to be landing, I think, in some of the major cities in the States, possibly Canada. Now, part of the reason I won't be getting it is pure, obviously, the money. We know they are eye-wateringly, no pun intended, expensive. And the channel just isn't generating that kind of income. It's generating a very, very, very tiny income now, which I'm hoping is going to grow. But even if it was generating good income, to go and lay down $4,500 on the Vision Pro is going to be a big ask. Particularly as I'm not a big AR VR user anyway, it'd be going into a new area. I think the boundaries they push, and I think what it's capable of sounds fantastic. And I will look forward to seeing the videos. Again, from a making a video point of view, I'd have to be realistic and think, well, there's going to be so many videos out there, it'd be swamped. And would my video stand up? Would I have the technical knowledge behind it to make a good video about it? Possibly not. So I think that would kind of be wasted money for me. But that was a big part of my early sort of part of the year, I guess. We began doing the renders for iPhone 15, and we did the renders for the Mac Pro, and then we started focusing very much once I found out his big hobby and passion was on AR VR. That's when we started doing loads of videos about that, and I think the channel had a good ride with that. One of the other things I did this year, of course, was also have my first little dalliance into Android. Michael Pepper. Hello, Michael. We are becoming so engrossing in everything. How do you suggest we deal with the ethical issues? Okay, I'll get back to my story in just a minute, but let's talk to Michael about that. And Shori, hello, sure, you're in as well. And Jake Shepherd's in. Hello, just joined. What's your daily driver phone? Daily driver is the 15 Pro Max that I was just talking about. That was an easy one, Jake. Lovely to have you on board. Absolutely love it. And actually, fun you should come in at that point. I'm going to get back in a minute to talking about my little Android odyssey, but just to go to Michael Pepper, the ethical issue with the AI, really interesting. I think the genie's out of the bottle now, and this is only purely my take on it. Just, like you were experiencing in real time and seeing it grow so quickly. I mean, it was really, I think, just over a year ago. I think the first time I came across AI was with Descript, and then I remember Marquez made a video about AI. And then after that, the floodgates have opened. And of course, now it is absolutely everywhere. And this space that I have to sit in, not this physical space, I've been making videos about tech. There's so many AI tools that can help me. Premiere Pro, for instance, has got a fantastic AI tool with speech to text. It generates SRT files for me. It's pretty good at understanding what I'm saying and give me a text file straight off that I can use and make subtitles from. And it's pretty much everywhere. Riverside, for instance, is what I'm streaming from now, and that's got all sorts of AI in the back room in the studio that you can use to generate shorts, and there's so much in there. Ethically, my big issue is this, actually. My daughter works for a record company in London, so she's kind of frontline to having her future completely ruined by AI to some degree. Now, with music, for instance, we know that AI is listening to music, and that's how it's generating its library. But it seems to me that the original artists that the AI bots are listening to and training aren't getting the financial reward that they should be getting, the licenses. I think this is going to be a big issue ethically. For instance, in that area, who owns the licenses to the money that the AI bots are listening to? That music was written and performed by somebody. They're listening to it, and they need to make a living. And it's not just the musicians, of course, it's the whole rub of the full music industry. So I think when you look at what industries are going to be affected, I think many industries, the number of jobs and industries that aren't going to be affected by AI, I think is going to be, you can probably count on the fingers of one hand. It's going to affect us all. Ethically, there will always be evil people out there. There will always be people that try to take something like AI and turn it into bad and turn it into something nefarious or dangerous or nasty. And those people, whether it was with AI or whether it was with some sort of warfare, there are always going to be those bad people out there. It's just now they've got access to AI, which can affect so many people so quickly. I think in essence, I like it. I don't know how it's going to be governed. That's my kind of take on it. Sure, he's just asked the ones of Nothing Tech. I don't want to see what the bring to tail next year. Nothing, as in nothing phones. Yes, well, let's get back to that then, Shori, because I was just talking about my Android odyssey. So during the summer, I was with Alex at his studio. We recorded a podcast, and he said to me, well, look, I've got this Google Pixel 7 Pro here. It's not doing anything. Do you want to take it? I thought, I've never, ever used an Android. Literally never used an Android. I used BlackBerry before. Very briefly, I had Nokia, but then I used BlackBerry before iPhones, and it's been iPhones all the way. Never used an Android and had very poor opinions of them and didn't know what they're about. Anyway, took the Pixel away and really enjoyed it. Loved the screen, loved the way it felt, thought it was very premium. And I just thought, yeah, I'm enjoying this. So then I spent a bit of time with the Pixel 7 Pro that he'd lent me before returning it to him. And I also bought the Nothing phone. And I made some videos on the Nothing phone, and they did quite well for me. And I have got it over there behind me, actually, in the studio, just by that other iMac over there. And it's got some great things going for it. I like the fact it's a little fish in a big pool, trying to kick some butt and trying to ruffle things up and come out as being something different. I think they blotted their copybook slightly towards the end of this year with the whole iMessage on Android thing. That was clearly, I was going to say clickbait, but it was clearly grabbing attentions for headlines. That was all it was doing. It was never going to be a runner, and it didn't sound particularly safe either, because you had to hand over your Apple ID now. I was asked earlier on, one of my highlights for the year by Ross, one of the highlights, one of the low points of the year for me was when I very nearly got hacked. We all like to think we're smart. We all like to think we're in control. We all like to think it's not going to happen, but it very nearly did. And the story behind that was a company theoretically got in touch with me and was offering me sponsorship for Fiji Water. I now realise how stupid I was to think that Fiji Water would just send me a random email. It gets worse. There was a link. I clicked it. It was a nightmare. And I found out that I'd been hacked live recording the podcast with Alex. It was a little while back, but you'll see my reaction. And for the rest of that podcast, I was trying to sit here thinking, okay, how much damage have I done? How bad a mess am I in? And try and just finish recording the podcast, all the while thinking behind my eyes, thinking, oh, God, I'm in trouble now. Anyway, luckily, I got away with it. It was such, and again, speaking of AI, which we were talking about a moment ago with Michael, because now these emails that you get are perfectly written because of AI. ChatGPT put in you want a letter written and it comes through perfectly. Whereas before, the first flag would have been that it was poor grammar. Now these emails are written perfectly. All the links were correct. The thing I should have looked at and I didn't, and this is why I kicked myself, was the domain was .cz, and that is pretty much a no-no. And of course, they go after creators. I was lucky. Maybe I was too small. I don't know. There's a. I'm still not crowing now, but I think I'm okay now. Everything changed. 2FA on absolutely everything. I'll be going over to passkeys soon as well, and I'll try to lock things down as much as is humanly possible now, because the only thing I can say is I was nearly taken. I wasn't quite taken, so you have to learn and try to think, okay, well, take some good from it and just make things tighter and make things better. So that was a low point, but also the good that came out of it. So the Android Odyssey was really interesting, and I enjoyed playing with them. I bought the Pixel 8 Pro. And I don't know if you've watched a recent video I made about iPhone, it was the last main video that I made. And my take on it was they are great phones. The Pixel is a lovely premium device. The screen is actually slightly nicer than the iPhone. I think the colors are a bit more vibrant and it's a brighter screen. But the thing is, I don't actually enjoy sitting down and nerding with my phone. When I finish making videos for the day, editing, I still love tech and I'll sit down and watch many YouTube videos about tech, but I don't sit down and play with my phone. I've suddenly realized that my 15 Pro Max is very much a tool of the trade for me. It's something that I use to make videos with and to make content with, and I use it in different ways through the week. Recently, as I say, I've been using the camera on it, but I'm just not the sort of person that enjoys app layouts and different wallpapers and different ringtones. It's just not me. I totally get if it is. I can see it be addictive. It's like gaming. I never got into gaming. So I totally understand these other areas and people that do enjoy it. It's just not me, which I think is possibly the big difference between iPhone users and Android users. I think Android users really love making their phones personal. It's just not my bag. So that's why I came back very heavily to the iPhone. And this year's iPhone 15 Pro Max, I've said many times, either in stories that I've written or on videos, that I think it could be a classic. Everything about it I like. I think they got it really right. The titanium chassis or rail around it is fantastic insofar as that brush finish. It doesn't show scratches. It doesn't show finger marks. The color I happen to have chose, although it's a fairly timid color, a muted color, again, doesn't show finger marks. The weight saving has been fantastic. They changed and shifted the weight balance in the phone as well, so it feels really light, but it feels premium. The rounded corners I love, the camera layout I love, the delivery of what you can get out of the phone now, the way they engineered in the USB-C port to go direct, record direct to an SSD. No weird configurations, it just works. Absolutely fantastic. Just seeing using the 15 Pro Max is fantastic, but the Pixel 8 Pro is just so enticing and fun. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jake. It is a lovely phone. I meant to bring it in today and have it here, but I left it at home. But it is a fantastic device. It really is. And I was thinking about making a video in the new year, not doing a comparison between the iPhone. I think just using it. I'm not going to do the whole clickbaity thing. iPhone user ditches and goes to Android. I was thinking of just using it for a week and seeing how I got on with it. Maybe even shooting a video on it for the channel on it and seeing how it looks. Certainly all the AI they've just launched, I haven't played with there we go. Exactly to what I was just saying. They've just, of course, released Night Boost, Video Boost and Night Sight. I haven't played with that properly yet. I want to see how good that is. I need to take some shorter videos, see how quickly it uploads, downloads. I don't know what if you guys have had any use on it, played with it. I'd be really interested to know if you think that's a video that you'd be interested in me making. And I guess again that comes down to what you guys like. I don't. I'm guessing many of us here do love Apple, but as Jake just said, I'm sure he's talking about nothing. Jake's talking about Pixel. Clearly, you've got interest in tech outside of Apple. So, do you think it'd be better for me to spread out the net a little bit and not just talk about Apple, but relevant things to it? So, if I use the Pixel, it'd be using it as an iPhone user, just seeing how it works in the ways that I use my iPhone. Can I now use that? And again, with the video boost, if I was to shoot say a longer form video on it, I think there's a time limit. I think there's a time limit on what you can upload for video boost. I'm not sure, but all of these things interest me, and it's just keeping the channel fresh. And I do love the Pixel, and I'm not selling it. Now the other thing is coming into January. And yes, Jake, I don't know if you've got the Pixel 8 Pro yet or not, but it is a really good phone. Battery life sensational, hardly ever have to charge it, and it's a lovely phone to hold and use. I really like what they've done in the design of this year, and also the Buds Pro that came with it sound really, really good as well. You like the idea of that, do you? Okay, maybe that'd be a good idea. Okay, well, maybe I'll put that on my whiteboard that I haven't got on the wall talking about about content. Because I don't need the whiteboard because now it's up there. I remember that we had this stream together, and I'll pin it in there. I think just keeping things fresh and a little bit wider isn't necessarily a bad idea, to be honest with you. I just think it would help to keep the channel fresh. And looking into January, of course. Take on foldables, Jake's asking. Yes, okay, so the 3 Androids, to that point, the 3 Androids I bought this year were the Nothing Phone 2, went to the Nothing store in London, one of the biggest letdowns of the year. It was during London Design Week, and the staff in there could not have been more bored. I was quite clearly shooting video of some kind, and look, I'm guessing they've been in there for a long day, whatever, I get that, but there wasn't even a pretense to talk to me or find out what I was doing, or could they help, or could they sell me anything? They were just bored. It's quite a nice little store, actually. Clearly, it's a boutique store because they've only got a couple of products, but it's upstairs. I don't know if the downstairs is generally open. It was when I went, and they had all sorts of design references there where Nothing engineers have been pulling ideas for Nothing from. I love the idea of what Carl Pay's doing, but the store itself, and I got into, I had a couple of decent videos on it. I reached out to Nothing Marketing and never heard a single word back. Now, look, I know I'm tiny. I know I'm a tiny, teeny, tiny little creator, but they could have just sent me some earbuds or something. And then I decided, okay, maybe I'm going to just associate myself with more of the premium brands, the Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhones and Mac. And I think that's been a good move, so I'm not watering it down too much. I think I've kind of run dry on the Nothing Phone content-wise. But talking about foldables, I bought the Nothing Phone 2, Pixel 8 Pro, and I bought the Samsung Flip 5. The day it launched, I got Daniel Scuteri, Mr. Samsung. He joined me on a Riverside call, and he talked me through the setup of it. And I played with it, and I think it got about 4 views. I think maybe 300 or 400 views. It just absolutely tanked. Now, in my defense, most people's videos on the Flip 5 did badly. I'm not letting it. I know, obviously, it's different to Samsung's Fold 5. So, where I stand on foldables, I don't think I'm particularly aching and waiting for them. Similarly, I don't really feel I want a touchscreen on a Mac. I don't know if the extra bulk of a foldable would feel awkward to carry around. The iPhone now is such an easy, nice, comfortable phone to hold and use. I don't know if I want the extra of the foldable as well. I don't see what I know in theory it's better for multitasking. But again, speaking of how I work, the phone I tend to use least of all. I'm surrounded all day. I work in a studio, and on any given day, I've probably got 3 Macs around me. My general setup, certainly first thing in the morning when I work from home, when I'm writing, I have my MacBook Air to one side, the studio display in the middle, M2 MacBook Air to the other side, universal control across all of them. I tend to have emails open on the MacBook Air, whatever I'm editing, writing, or working on the studio display, and then reference websites on the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro, as it comes into its own later when I start editing, and that's where the grunt really comes into its own. So I've reached out to them about my job roles going, and I swear they sent me an email back with just nothing. Sure, he's had similar levels, level 70, nothing personal. Yeah, it's a good chat going on now. Yeah, I don't understand with companies like Nothing. They're new on the block, and you would have thought any content, it's not going to cost them much. I wasn't asking for the world. And I took the time and trouble to go up to their store on one of their open days, as I say, during London Design Week, and just nothing. So but foldables don't really interest me. I think it's getting back to that point of the Android thing where you enjoy playing with phones, and I don't need to multitask on a phone because I'm sitting in front of Macs. Right now, I've got the M2 MacBook Air that I'm streaming off of. Believe it or not, that is what I stream off. It's that good, the M2 MacBook Air. So I've got Riverside open on there. I'm streaming out of that. And on here, I'm looking at the chat on the MacBook Pro. But that's just typical. And I've got my old 27-inch iMac to one side and a brand new 24-inch iMac, M3 iMac behind me. So I don't need a phone, really. The only time I generally use a phone is in the car to stream audio and use for navigation. The car's got Apple CarPlay in it, and I love that. It works really, really well. But even when I go out now to get away from the screens, go out for a walk, get some exercise, I generally don't take the phone. I just have my watch. I pair up some podcasts to watch, and I take that out and go phone free if I can. It's just nice at that point in the day. That actually came to a crashing halt later this year because I fractured my ankle. Believe it or not, I was late. I was editing a video one day and I was late. I was hungry, so I walked around the corner to try and get some sandwiches for lunch, and I just tripped over and fell over, fractured ankle. So I haven't been able to get away from the screens as much as I would have liked recently because your foot's been hurt. But that's getting better now, and I actually am starting to get out again now. Yeah, so the phone for me isn't a big user item. It's obviously central to everything. It's at the hub of everything I do. I love the fact I'm on the sofa with Apple TV, that it's the remote control. I love the fact that I can do handoff to the AirPods as well. The phone kind of silently sits there at the center of everything that we do, but it's not something I actively use. Insofar as when people talk about multitasking and so on, I can't think why I'd want to multitask on a phone when I've got other things around me. And if I'm traveling, the MacBook Air, it's small, it's slim, it's light. It does the job really, really well. I like desktops. Now, getting to the products that are likely to be coming out early, I'm hoping in January. Well, definitely Samsung. It's just written strange on as of no other Apple devices except for the iPhone. I do get the hypo. This phone works so well, but boring. Can you get my opinions on it? Yeah, totally, Jake. I totally get it. The iPhone's not a particularly interesting phone. If you're a phone enthusiast, it probably isn't the phone for you because there is nothing really to do with it. That's its USP and its brilliance. It sits there and does its job and works. But it's not, if it's something you want to fiddle with and play with and personalize, clearly it's not for you. So 100% get that. 100% get that. But I'm the other sort of boring sod that just likes it sitting there doing nothing and just doing what I want it to do. So in January, we know that Samsung will be releasing the S24, and I'm hoping, really hoping, if last year was anything to go by, in January, that Apple will be releasing the M3 Pro Mac Mini. Now, I've never owned a Mac Mini, but I'm hoping they release that in January. They did last year. And I know last year could have been releases were slightly out of kilter, and what we got in January should have been released late in 22. Possibly that's the case, but equally, we had the event in October, wasn't it, just before Halloween, when the M3 came out, and it's a full family of M3, but we haven't seen the M3 Pro yet. So I'm hoping that they release that in January. If they do, I think I'll be front and center looking to buy that and talk about it on the channel. I think that's sort of video that I would like to make, and I think it's got relevance to the channel because obviously with the base level M3 iMac, then if I go for the M3 Pro, we've really got some relevance I can sort of do. And I've never used Geekbench, but I can do my kind of testing, see how things actually work, how quickly apps open. Level 70, how often do you wait until you buy a new Mac and do your trade your old ones in? Level 70, no, I haven't done any of the YouTuber thing of buying and returning. Anything I bought, I've kept. I have intended to sell things. For instance, when I bought this year's 15 Pro Max, I thought I'd sell last year's 14 Pro, but I haven't. I don't know. Yes, clearly I'll get some money back for them, but there's always a use for them somewhere. At the back of your mind, you think, well, if this one gets damaged or stolen, at least I've got a backup iPhone. It's still a very good phone, 14 Pro. In fact, that phone had a terabyte of storage on it. It was ridiculously expensive. I bought it to record ProRes on last year on the channel. Yeah, in 22, end of 22 into 23, end of 22. Thinking that I'd be able to shoot ProRes, but of course you can't get the files off. Long files like I'm shooting for YouTube that tend to be an hour long or 40 minutes long before I edit them down. You just couldn't get those pros off. The only one I found was through hooking up through the lightning cable and image capture, but a 60 gig file still took forever. So that didn't last long. Then I bought this Canon and I shot most of the videos on the channel with this Canon. So you were saying about so I'm just looking at the chats there. Best phone for most people. A phone is yeah, phone needs to work. And Jakob's in. Jakob, hello. Jakob, I haven't troubled you this week. Jakob and I have a great relationship. We work together with regard to the writing, and he's a lovely lad. And we've had some good laughs during the year. So Jakob, I hope you had a great break. And I will be troubling you again next week. I promise you. I thought I'd give you a week off though. So in January, I'm hoping that the Apple release the Mac Mini M3 Pro, and if they do, I'll be buying that. I made a mistake in my head thinking it was a cheap Mac. The Mac Mini is a cheap Mac. Yes, it is as the entry level, but once you start getting to the M3 Pro, I think it's about £1,500, which brings me to my next point. The Samsung S24. Should I buy it? Shouldn't I buy it? My theory is now no. I have got the Samsung Flip. We were just asked if I was trading phones in, which I'm not. So even the Samsung, I haven't got it at the moment. Actually, Alex has got it. I lent him because he makes Samsung videos as well. So I left that with him during the summer, and I haven't got it back yet. So there's talk about possibly trading that Samsung Flip 5 in towards the Samsung S24. So that way I'd have the 3 flagship phones. I'd have the Pixel 8 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and also the S24. But again, it's going to be £1,000 plus. And I don't know if I'll get good content out of it or not. I don't particularly want to make those clickbait videos, iPhone user changes, because in all likelihood I won't. I thought about it during the summer. I enjoyed using Android an awful lot. I really like Pixel, but I just like how iPhone works to me. So, and I don't want to be that kind of, I think the people that are now watching me each week would feel insulted if I suddenly started going down the clickbait route. So I think if I've got to find £1,000 or just over £1,000 to spend in January, it's much more likely to be with the Mac Mini M3 Pro, assuming that does come out and we don't have to wait till the spring. Now, if that doesn't come out, maybe there is a reason to buy the Samsung. As I say, I won't go the clickbait route. You can come and find me and hammer nails into me if I ever do that. But I think if I buy it now, it would just be as a point of interest to see what it's all about. Nothing more than that. But as it stands at the moment, hoping that Apple are going to release it in the Mac Mini in January, I think my money's going to go there ahead of the Samsung. Gut feelings at the moment. Now, of course, if they don't release it and we're waiting, and now we were talking about Vision Pro a little bit earlier on, Jacob saying Mac Mini M3 will be an interesting device, but it's so small market cap, so not so good device. Yeah, I know. I agree with you, Jacob. It is a niche machine, but equally, because it's a cheaper desktop than the Studio, I think, again, come back to the old Studio Display, you know, I can make some decent content about it, I think. And it would be great for me to compare what you get for the extra money in the M3 Pro to the base level M3 iMac. So I've got sort of some plans worked out. I can also say your content is great, I'm sure. Oh, thank you. Thank you much indeed, Jake. It's taken some work. It really has taken some work, but I do feel now that, and I hope this was an okay idea with you. You know, I could have made a video this week. I absolutely could have. It's been nice taking a week off because, of course, Christmas Day being on the Monday, couldn't shoot on Monday. I think would have got larpooned, shot down by the family. So and then it got to Tuesday, Boxing Day, still wasn't doing Monday. So then it'd be starting video on the Wednesday. Well, then it becomes quite a rush to get things out from Wednesday to a Friday. So I just thought, no, I really want to do this. And I just wanted to chat with you. And, you know, it's been a lovely way to spend the afternoon. So I hope you enjoy it too. And if you think, I know we've spoken about this a little bit. And if you think that these lives, if I can find a way, I hate to make it about money, but obviously it's got to try and help pay the bills. If I can find a way to make these good for the channel and help the channel earn some revenue as well, because whatever I earn will go back into buying gear. So the money I earn from writing and making videos all goes into one account, and that account is left solely, hasn't paid me any money to live off yet. It's solely there to try and buy more devices, more gear to review and give good content and give my thoughts on. And thank you for what Jake just said a minute ago. That's kind of gone full cycle, and we're sort of almost at the hour's mark now, believe it or not. So I'll probably wrap things up in just a second. But yeah, I think having found how people want me to deliver, the style of video that people like, and I've not been afraid of longer form. The recent videos tend to have been all over 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and that's not by design. I'm not trying to make long videos, and often come the end of the week, I'm worried that they've been long videos. But it's just where the dice have fallen. It's simply been a case of had something to say. That's the story, and it's been a longer video. But although my average view duration isn't wonderful, I think it's fairly average for what I gather from most creators. I'm sort of at a 4 or 5 minute AVD. If it need well, there was a point in case recently, one of the videos that I edited on the M3 iMac, and there was a dropout in the last few seconds of the video. There was a dropout, and people noticed it. which is good. I was annoyed that there was a dropout, but it was good because people were clearly watching to the end of the video. So although my average view duration might be fairly typical, people are watching through the videos, and I can see that on the analytics as well. So I'm not going to be afraid of making videos by other people's yardstick. If I happen to make a video that I think is the right, and the main thing is I'm not repeating myself and that I'm bringing relevant content. And if that's the case, it ends up being 15 minutes long, then so be it. And I think the people that watch me are enjoying the fact that it's not a rush, that I'm just talking about what I found out about the device and putting that across. So hopefully you can directly focus on iMac's displays. Yep, exactly, Jakob. I can definitely make content out of this, Jakob. I definitely can make content, written and video. Because also I've never owned a Mac Mini. So I think that also the Mac Mini Pro would probably be, I'd compare it to the M3 iMac, but also I wonder how it would knock on the door of this. This 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro is 32 gigs of unified memory and 4 terabytes of storage. It actually did have a blip today. For some reason, I was editing a short, which will be going. My shorts are going up on Sunday at the moment. I've had some little success with shorts recently. The last 2 or 3, not one today, promoting this. That was a short just literally for the sake of promoting this stream. But the shorts recently getting over 2,500, 3,000 views. Obviously, by the way that views are monitored on YouTube Shorts, very poor. But that said, against most of the creators that I'm similar to get 2,500 views is reasonable. So I'm spending more time now. So I'm generally doing my format at the moment is, as you know, write 3 times a week, get 1 video out a week, which goes out on a Friday at 5:30, and then a Sunday short is how I call it. It's ready, it's edited. But the M1 Max MacBook Pro did trip up today. It struggled on a bit of editing. I don't know why. I cleared the cache out of Premiere Pro and I rebooted it, and it kind of behaved itself fine after that. It was a weird file extension that I was using. In all fairness, it was a graphic that I was using in the short is about Apple TV and the 5 things that I liked about it. Jakob, I can hear you smiling already. And that story actually, Jakob's gone down really well. I'm getting loads of comments on it, and I think 2 people have gone and bought an Apple TV because of it. I just wish I had an affiliate link for Apple TV. And of affiliate links, sorry, I know I'm rambling, and I will begin to wrap things up now as another ambulance hurtles past me. Affiliate links, I've had precious little luck with affiliate links, but a few people have started buying the Samsung T7 SSD that I used with the iPhone when I was shooting ProRes and log, and I've earned about £7 out of affiliate links. Yeah, it's a start. And I had my first sponsored video this year, outside of being nearly ripped off by people supposedly from the water company. I did have my first sponsored video this year, and it was a really premium brand as well. It's Clean My Mac. Now, I know Clean My Mac is divisive. Some people hate it. I've genuinely used it. I've genuinely used it for years and years and years before I had any associations with the company. And when I got in touch and said I was buying the M3 iMac, they kindly said, could we work with you and do a video? So that was my first sponsored video. So, and I think as the channel grows now, and it has had rapid growth. To say, we turned 3,000 subs at the beginning of December, and we're almost at 3.6 now. So there's definite growth going on. So I think as the channel grows, that will be more attractive to sponsors. And I had somebody get in touch today, but it wasn't a good fit. It was for stands and things like that. And again, they were trying to play this old nugget with me. We'll give it you free. And I had to politely say that doesn't really wash now. You know, I can't suddenly begin doing free work when I've had somebody that's paid it be rubbing their face in it somewhat. So I kind of just said, look, if you get some budget available, I'm happy to negotiate a bit, but the days of doing things for free, I think need to come. It's good to cut my teeth, but I think, you've got to be professional and think, right, the channel's beginning to grow. And also, I don't want to put sponsored videos in front of you because we know sponsored videos generally aren't liked by viewers. I click through them as much as the next person. I hate videos that are so obviously all about one product. If it's a sponsored read somewhere in the video, yeah, fine. I can totally see why the creator's doing it because they pay and you need to earn a living. But equally, I hate it when the whole video is so. And I was watching one recently, and within moments, you could just tell it was going to be all about this particular thing, and I knew what it was a mile out. So just looking at some of the great, and also depends on your budget. Yeah, budgets come into everything. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to see what happens in January. Last year, Apple came out the gate very early on. Within about the first week, I think, there was rumors on Twitter, and suddenly these products came out. So if that happens, great. If there's no word on the street, if things don't look like there's going to be happening, I might buy the Samsung Vision Pro. I don't know how to cover it. I don't know if I can cover it because I can't really write about it. After the event in the summer, I was quite able to write about it because none of us actually had it. Obviously, come a few months' time or months' time, people will physically have it in their hands. And as I won't, I don't know if I can write any relevant content on it. I'll be very interested to see what people are making of it and how people are beginning to use it in the real world experience. But saying, sorry, I don't know if you're saying the cheaper, the better. Not sure. Make money. Yeah, Jacob's saying he hates sponsored videos because it's like teleshopping. Yeah, it is. I know that. And developer friendly. Does 60 hertz and iMac or no, actually, the studio display I absolutely love. I really do. I won't hear a bad word said about the studio display. I use it day in and day out. I'm not constantly scrolling on it. It's a workhorse. So I'm editing on it. It's a really good, bright, powerful display. Plenty of space at the 27-inch. I worked on my 27-inch iMac for a long, long time anyway. And if money were no object, if money seriously were no object, and I had, I don't know, sponsors lined up for the rest of the year without making it to a shopping channel, Jakob, then I absolutely would buy a Pro Display XDR. I would be that idiot. I saw one in London. I saw one in the Apple shop. And as much as I think the studio display is amazing, the Pro Display XDR, if you're a video editor, wow, it is seriously good. Color accuracy, vibrant, bright. I mean, it's just a whole nother level. But of course, it is £6,000. So the chance of me getting that are between 0 and nothing. It's not going to happen unless things change very rapidly for me. And that would be a big, big sea change. Developer friendly. No, just answer. No, honestly, the 60 hertz doesn't worry me at all. Of course, the MacBook Pro has got a 120 hertz screen on it, but I'm not constantly refreshing and moving between things. So, you know, it doesn't bear its head. I love how bright the screens are. I love the accuracy of both the MacBook, and I know that the display on the MacBook Pro is clearly better technically than the studio display, but I just like the size. The kind of work I do, if it's thumbnails, photo editing in Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever, or video editing and podcast, audio work, I just like space. I like a big landscape to work on. I like that real estate. So that's why for me, the studio, I bought the studio display at the same time as the MacBook Pro. It was quite a big change for me because I'd always worked on the 27-inch iMac, had that from 2015, well spec'd for when I was doing predominantly graphic design work. But then as I started moving into video work, then it was grinding to a halt and exporting, say, a 10-minute 4K video was taking about 40 minutes. And on here, it's taking me about 6. So that's a massive saving. That's when I knew it's time to move. But of course, having always worked on a desktop, the idea of working on a laptop worried me. I looked at going Studio, Mac Studio and Studio Display route, but I also realized that post-COVID, I was working either, well, in 2 places, essentially, either here or at home. So the fact that I could have a laptop with me now, which would carry the work with me with 4 terabytes of storage, it means that I can, whatever project, I generally have that week's project on the desktop the whole time. And it means I don't have to worry about size of files. I can work directly off of here. Everything I edit is directly off of the Mac. I don't work off externals. At the end, I do export and archive everything. I'm reviewing how I archive. I was archiving the whole project folder, but that was getting massive. So now I'm really just keeping any images that I shot that were ideas for using with thumbnails. You can never have too many images in the image library, and also B-roll. B-roll is brilliant to keep, but I'm getting rid of all of the A-roll files, audio files, the project files, all of those bits that I will never use again. It's really just keeping the B-roll and the images, because those just get you out of jail so many times. I was using something just before Christmas. I think it was the MacBook Air. I needed something I could go back, and because it's shot in the same studio, it kind of looks right. Okay, each video has a slightly different look to it, but pretty much it's just the same. Thanks for the answer, developer friendly. I just ordered an iMac M3, but worried about 6. Don't be, honestly, don't. And the black levels, I have certainly working photos on the M3 iMac. I haven't had any problem at all with Lightroom and Photoshop. No problems at all. I don't know what specs you've gone for. As you know, mine's the baby one, only 8 gigs of memory. And it's only got the 256 gigs of storage, because I know part of what I do means that most of the machines that I get aren't going to be my main machine. This is my main machine. Thus, it's got the 4 terabytes on. Would I think about swapping this out for the new M3 series of MacBook Pros? Not really. I say that one glitch today, but that's one isolated time that it didn't perform well. Other than that, this machine just performs brilliantly the whole time. It really does. But honestly, developer friendly, you have bought a great machine. I think you're going to absolutely love using. I still love iMacs. I just feel they are the most Mac of all Macs. They look like a Mac should look. So I think we're kind of your videos. Oh, thank you, developer friendly said he's enjoying the videos as well. So this is what I wanted to do. It's just not you guys. You know, you are what I sit here making videos for each week, and the fact that you're enjoying the videos I'm making now and enjoying the content. I just thought this is a really nice way to take the foot off the gas at the end of the year and have a really easy conversation with you and just say thank you. And I've got lots of ideas planned. All right, they're not on a whiteboard, but they are up here, I promise you. I've got lots of ideas planned. Yeah, I've got another problem right now, and it's connected with Windows 64 architecture. So finding the Windows device that is even close to that is really impossible. Yeah, I can absolutely imagine it would be, Jakob. It's a long time since I've used a Windows machine. But yes, I can see that probably would not be a terribly easy thing for you to work your way around. But everybody that's been involved today, thank you so much indeed. I've really enjoyed doing this. If we manage to do it again, I would love to. It's been great. I reckon you can hit 10K before the end of 24. Ross, I'm hoping so. We're approaching, just saying approaching 5 sound too optimistic, but 3.5. In my mind, that's approaching 5, but it's nearer to 5 than it is to 2, right? So yes, I'd like to think my birthday is towards the end of March. I'm trying to think, let's hope we can get 5 before the end of March. That'll be a good metric. And if I can get that next 5 before the end of the year, again, Ross, you know, it took me so long to get those first few subs going. But now it's weird. It's almost an inertia. I mean, I don't know if I've gained any more. Let's have a look now. I'll just go into YouTube Studio and see if I've gained any subs. So at the moment, before I refresh, 3,527, probably going to lost subs now. Let's have a look. No, I haven't gained a single sub since we've been on. I haven't looked at Studio probably since this morning. But yeah, it was most times when I log on, the subs are going up all the time now. And it's an important factor insofar as you know that then you're doing something that people are enjoying. So it goes way beyond vanity. It's actually a very important part of it. And I love doing this. I really do. The whole weeks I get to spend sitting here alone. I'm in an upstairs of a building. Beneath me is some friends that are architects. And I have upstairs, and I'm totally by myself. I sit at home in the mornings writing just with my cat, and I come in here and sit alone and work here. But I love it. And I'm really glad that I took this chance and coming into this whole content creation thing. And thank you for being a part of it. Yes, I would love to get to 10K by the end of the year. So I'll make it. Yes, Jakob, I'll push as hard as I can to get the numbers as hard as I possibly can. And if you read me, if you watch the videos, thank you so much. I'm loving it. I really am. And I hope this was a good idea. I hope you kind of enjoyed hanging out and maybe got more of an insight rather than just me speaking on the videos to how I kind of work. And if there's a video you'd like me to make about the way I kind of work, then again, that's something we can think about. So look, New Year's Eve is not that far away, just a couple of days away. I hope you have yourselves a wonderful time. Me, it's no biggie. I'm going to see Ferrari, the movie tomorrow with the other half. That's a movie that I'm enjoying. And we were going to go on Sunday at 4:00-ish, and I realised I'm on the radio. It is a pre-recorded show. I used to do my shows live 3 times a week. But because I'm out of practice, and it's one of those things, you don't want to be live and make a fool of yourself. So it is a pre-recorded show, but nonetheless, I do join in with the chat because over on there, there's a big sort of a community thing going on as well. So if you are around on Sunday, on New Year's Eve, it's the most un-New Year's Eve show you're ever likely to hear. There's no party music in it. Not my style. The way I've got my style on YouTube, it's the same with the radio. Solarradio.com, 4 till 6. You can also find it on TuneIn. I'll be there. Of course, I will be back next week as normal with a full video. I know Monday is technically a non-work day, but I might try and do a little bit of work on New Year's Day. I hope not be feeling too grim and hungover. So thank you to everybody. Just one last question. Any idea with graphics card on? Jakob, I'll let you discuss that one. It's graphics cards, PCs, Windows. Sounds it's much more your area than mine because I've got no knowledge of PCs and I wouldn't like to speak about anything I know nothing about. I do that most of the week anyway. So no, I think it's time that I wrap things up. We've been together just over an hour and it's been fantastic having this time to chat with you. I hope you enjoyed a little sort of look behind the curtains about how I think and what goes on and what plans I've got. And more than anything, all I can tell you is it will be like clockwork. One video a week will definitely be happening through 24 and I'm loving doing it. So thank you for joining me today. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for the lovely interaction we have on the videos during the week as well. Have yourselves a great New Year's and I'll see you next Friday with a video. And it's either going to be about the M3 iMac with some ideas I've got in it or about the Pixel 8 Pro. Be one of those two. But both those videos are going to be coming in January. Thanks for everything. Have yourselves a fantastic evening. See you soon.